Archaeologists have recently discovered an undiscovered city believed to be from the Incan Empire, located deep within the Amazon rainforest. According to a documentary, this ancient city may possibly conceal the renowned lost treasure of the pre-Columbian tribe. Most scholars widely acknowledge that the Incas were the most advanced civilization in the Americas. They exerted their control over the Peruvian highlands until the Spanish successfully conquered their final bastion in 1572. Located deep in the Amazon jungle, this city covers an expansive area of over 18,000 square meters and served as a stronghold of resistance. It can only be reached by embarking on a 2-day hike from Cusco. Approximately 30% of Choqquequirao has been unearthed, and the television program Mysterious World of the Inca shed light on the significance of this site. In 2009, scientists mentioned that there are many peculiar and enigmatic locations known as huaca across the former Inca Empire. These sites were considered to be idols by the indigenous people and were believed to possess extraordinary abilities. Huacas are not solely man-made shrines. They can encompass a variety of forms, including peculiar stones, mountains, or lakes. Choqquequirao, a remarkable example of Inca architecture, eluded the Spanish conquerors and remained obscured from their view. After the demise of the final Inca in the late 16th century, Choqquequirao gradually faded from memory. The city, known as the Cradle of Gold, was not discovered by Europeans until the mid-19th century, with Hiram Bingham being credited with its rediscovery. The distinctive features of the buildings, such as the trapezoidal windows and the spaces where residents would place their belongings, play a crucial role. Equally significant is the intricate canal system and the precise alignment of the elegant structures. Nonetheless, the series proceeded to uncover the potential existence of remnants from the previous civilization that could potentially be concealed beneath the dense vegetation. The potential secrets hidden within the ruined palaces of the final Inca rulers may hold a portion of the Incas' yet-to-be-discovered treasure. In a hidden location, the dense tropical forest conceals the final refuge of the revered Inca sun deity. However, it will take several years before further discoveries come to light. The Amazon rainforest, the largest tropical rainforest in the world, is not only a haven for biodiversity, but also a cradle of ancient civilizations. For thousands of years, diverse cultures thrived in the lush and impenetrable greenery of the Amazon basin. Long before the arrival of European explorers, the Amazon rainforest was home to a myriad of sophisticated civilizations. These pre-Columbian societies, though lesser known compared to their counterparts in Mesoamerica and the Andes, played a significant role in shaping the cultural landscape of the region. One such civilization was the Marajoara culture, which flourished on Marajo Island, at the mouth of the Amazon River, between 400 AD and 1400 AD. The Marajoara people were skilled potters and created intricate ceramic artifacts, including large urns and figurines. Their artistry and craftsmanship reflected their deep connection to the natural world. Contrary to the popular perception of the Amazon as a vast, unpopulated wilderness, ancient Amazonian cultures developed sophisticated social structures and impressive architectural achievements. The culture of the Tapajos people, for example, left behind earthworks and mounds, known as geoglyphs, that indicate the existence of large settlements and complex societies. These earthworks served various purposes, from ceremonial spaces to areas of habitation and trade. The Amazon rainforest provided fertile ground for the development of advanced agricultural practices. Ancient Amazonian cultures cultivated an array of crops, including maize, beans, manioc, and sweet potatoes. They utilized innovative techniques such as raised fields and terra preta to enhance soil fertility and productivity. Through generations of experimentation and adaptation, these ancient cultures developed a profound understanding of the ecosystem they inhabited, enabling them to live in harmony with nature. The art of ancient Amazonian cultures was rich and diverse, often reflecting their spiritual beliefs and connection to the natural world. Intricate pottery, textile weaving, and intricate body art were common forms of artistic expression. Rituals and ceremonies held great importance in these societies, serving as a means of connecting with the spiritual realm, seeking guidance from ancestors, and appeasing the deities that governed the forces of nature. The Amazon rainforest was not an isolated region, but rather a vibrant hub of trade and cultural exchange. Ancient Amazonian cultures engaged in long-distance trade, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas, and technologies. The Vope region in present-day Colombia and Brazil is an excellent example of a hub of cultural exchange. The indigenous peoples of this area had extensive networks of interaction, evidenced by the similarities in their ceramic styles, ritual practices, and social organization. Contrary to the popular notion of the Amazon rainforest as an untouched wilderness, these ancient cultures actively managed and shaped their environment to meet their needs sustainably.
The mystery of the billy apes. Over a century ago, Belgian colonizers found a large primate skull during their rampage in the northern Congo. The locals would tell them stories of mysterious large apes that would attack and eat lions. Gorillas were never before found in this region of northern Congo, so researchers and explorers were confused and intrigued. They believed it to be an entirely new species of ape, although they never found any additional evidence or proof of life. The skull was promptly left to collect dust in the Royal Museum for Central Africa in Belgium until the 1990s, when Karl Amann read about them in a scientific article. He was a Swiss-born photographer and devoted conservationist. Enraptured by the skull's puzzle, he set off on an adventure through the dense jungles that few had traversed before. The Biliuli tropical forest covers 12,000 square miles and is a mix of impenetrable canopy and large stretches of savanna. The researchers had to trek through an impenetrable underbrush full of ants, mosquitoes, and bees that were drawn to their sweat. Despite being such a difficult undertaking, Amann ended up repeatedly visiting the forest over the span of 10 years, with various rangers, camera crew, and primatologists trying to find the elusive billy apes. On his first trip, he found another ape skull, which only increased his obsession. In 2004, American primatologist Cleve Hicks joined the search. He spent weeks traversing through the forest trying to find the apes. He and his team set up motion-detecting cameras and eventually captured images of the elusive billy apes. As it turns out, they were not a new species. They were chimpanzees. However, they were unlike any chimpanzees the researchers had seen before. They had larger skulls and feet than other chimpanzees. Their behavior was unique in that they nested on the ground like gorillas instead of in the canopy. They also used the longest tools researchers had seen in Africa to collect ants and honey. On one expedition, researchers came across a chimpanzee eating a leopard, although they did not know whether the chimp had attacked it or not. The locals called them lion destroyers and explained that even their poison darts would not affect the apes. Hicks stated that they were the largest population of wild chimpanzees anywhere in the world. He claimed that they were curious of the humans rather than fearful, which led him to believe that they had never seen humans before. Those that lived closer to civilization would flee when approached, but the apes further in would gather close to observe before quietly leaving. Since they lived in such remote parts of the jungle, it was near impossible for poachers or any other humans to encounter them. Today, though, the forest is a hiding spot for many fugitives or rebel groups and is being turned into farmland. Reports of huge snakes. In 1959, Belgian Air Force Colonel Remy van Lierde spotted something rather peculiar as he flew over the forests of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Van Lierde served at the Kamina Air Base, located in Congo, which was, at the time, occupied by Belgium. The colonel had been going home by helicopter after a mission flying over the Katanga region when he spotted what he described as a huge snake lurking within the forests. The description he gave of the snake was terrifying, to say the least, with Van Lierde describing it as reaching 50 feet long, with a head approximately 2 feet in width and 3 feet in length. He also mentioned the head being a triangular shape. If these figures are correct, these hidden snakes earn a rank amongst the longest snakes to live in all the history we have accessible. Regarding colour, this mysterious, large snake reportedly has green and brown scales on top but has a white underside. This encounter was short-lived, however, as Van Lierde and his pilot were mid-flight. The team, upon Liarde's request, made a U-turn, circling round to take another look at this alleged giant snake. Upon the team returning, the snake, assumed to be defending territory, reared his upper half. This stance was assumed to indicate he was ready to strike as a result of the team's nosy impositions. Regardless, this lifted pose clued Van Lierde in as to the snake having a white-coloured underneath. Due to the low nature of the helicopter and the aggressive position of the snake, Van Lierde commanded for the flight to continue, not hanging around long enough for trouble to come, leaving this peculiar snake behind without making any specific documentation of it. Some suggest that the photographer aboard managed to capture a relatively blurred image of this curious creature, though it has been difficult to definitively trace back to those travelling with Lierde. Mostly, people assume that this snake is a vastly oversized African rock python, a product of evolution from descent of the giant Eocene snake Gigantophis, or perhaps this is a new species of snake altogether. We cannot know for certain. The asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs may have created the Amazon. The asteroid that plummeted to Earth over 66 million years ago and ended the reign of the dinosaurs is a well-known phenomenon. However, recent discoveries have led researchers to believe that the infamous meteorite may have been responsible for something else as well, the creation of the impressively diverse Amazon rainforest. A new study published in the Journal of Science analysed thousands of fossilized plants in an attempt to understand the effects of the mass extinction caused by that fateful asteroid. An estimated 75% of all life on Earth, from gigantic dinosaurs to microscopic bacteria, went extinct as a result, but now the area is home to one of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet. Analysing the effects of this first mass extinction is crucial in understanding what might happen as a result of a second mass extinction event. What the researchers found surprised them. According to the study, it appears that the same blast that wiped out such a significant portion of life on Earth was also responsible for creating the entirety of the tropical rainforests on our planet. As expected, analysis of plant fossils from before and after the blast revealed drastically altered landscapes. Before the asteroid, the land was full of sparsely growing conifers and ferns, whose wide spacing allowed plenty of light to reach the ground, so unlike the dense jungle that we are familiar with in the Amazon. Following the extinction of millions of species, plant diversity declined an estimated 45%, and analysis of over 50,000 fossilized pollen records showed that angiosperms, or flowering plants, predominated the region for the next 6 million years, covering what had once been a semi-diverse land with what has been called the Reign of Flowers. As the area began to recover from the devastation and new species started to emerge, the plants began growing much more thickly, allowing for dense vertical growth that promoted the development of new species of shade-loving plants that thrived in the new ground level of the developing jungle. The researchers offered 3 predominant theories as to why the regrowth looked so different from what was there before. The first and most widely accepted is that the enormous dinosaurs that roamed the area before their extinction prevented more dense growth simply due to their large bulk that trampled plants, in addition to the sheer number of plants the large herbivores likely consumed. The other 2 theories suggest that falling ash from the blast may have created soil that was more beneficial to the faster-growing flowering plants, or that the extinction of the conifers provided a perfect opportunity for the flowering plants to take over. The researchers were so interested in the before and after of this great meteorite because the Amazon rainforest and surrounding areas are currently undergoing what is called the second mass extinction, only this one is caused entirely by humans. Monica Carvalho, who co-authored the study, concluded with the grim takeaway. The lesson learned here is that under rapid disturbances, tropical ecosystems do not just bounce back, they are replaced, and the process takes a really long time. The findings of the research study are fascinating but grim, as they indicate that if drastic action is not taken, and soon, we may stand to lose the rainforests and all they offer the world, possibly forever. Mysterious geoglyphs reveal Amazon was densely populated. Once thought to be an untouched paradise, the pre-Columbian Amazon may have actually been home to millions of people. Until recently, it was assumed that the Amazon was a pristine paradise with only a few groups of nomadic people living around the Amazon River to sustain themselves. New research in the Brazilian state of Mato Grosso suggests a new story entirely. As it turns out, the rainforest could have actually been home to millions living in large interconnected villages. With much of the region covered in dense forest, the area has always been challenging to navigate for any archaeologist interested in finding out more about how Amazonians lived away from the river and its resources. Using satellite imagery, teams were able to identify geoglyphs, which are ancient geometric ground drawings made by humans out of the earth, stone, and low-relief mounds, presumably part of a ritual for the gods, especially in times of drought. Once they had the geoglyphs, the team went into the field to the precise locations to see if they could actually find any remnants of ancient civilizations there. They were overjoyed when all 24 areas they visited contained some form of proof that people had lived there. In one site, they found old ceramics estimated to be from 1410 AD. After returning to their labs, they then used their findings to predict the locations of other possible sites, which revealed there are likely 1,300 villages and geoglyphs in the 154,000 square mile area of southern Amazonia, 2/3 of which have yet to be found. The research team now believes that between 500,000 and 1 million people once lived in a mere 7% of the Amazon basin. Prior to this research, it was estimated that the entire basin had only ever been home to 2 million people. The possibility of there being even more sites suggests that these interconnected villages spanned over 1,100 miles during their peak years between 1200 and 1500 AD. It appears that there are more discoveries to be found in the Amazon.
Civilizations that used to live within the Amazon. Since the 16th century, we have held the warped belief that the Amazon rainforest was largely untouched and entirely natural. It was a common assumption that prior to the Spanish invasions, only small groups of nomadic people lived intermittently along the Amazon riverbanks and estuary. Though new research suggests otherwise, revealing vast interconnected villages near the Amazon. Areas of the Amazon that previously could not be explored have been made accessible due to the development of satellite imagery. This allows for even the densest areas of the forest to be explored, letting archaeologists search for the ancient geoglyphs that indicate the presence of civilizations. Geoglyphs are art pieces formed through the moving of the landscape, such as arrangements of stones. The team, funded in part by National Geographic, had a set of 24 coordinates they considered leads, all of which proved to be positive. One in particular, however, proved to be incredibly useful, leading scientists to ceramics and charcoal, which testing indicated comes from 1410 CE. Trends also seem to show that the geoglyphs are most likely to be found in places on high elevation, such as the hills within the Amazon. This new research shows that the civilizations had settled in a wider space than we thought, as people lived further than the riverside, with settlements spanning over 1,100 miles. Another conclusion drawn from this study is that the population densities predicted through computer modelling were higher than thought previously. It was thought, prior to this research, that 2 million lived in the Amazon rainforest. But now we know 500,000 to 1 million live within only 7% of the Amazon basin. A previous idea was that after the European conquests, those who lived in the forest had passed away due to diseases and genocide. Primary author of the research project, Jose Iriarte, archaeologist from the University of Exeter, said in relation to this, "We need to re-evaluate the history of the Amazon. Other information we know surrounding the history of the civilizations living in the Amazon is fairly limited. The Inca Empire was at its height of productivity and growth when the Spanish, French, Dutch, and English invasions began to occur. Incas societies were based in Cusco, Peru, and these small societal groups and communities stretched into the Amazon lowlands. The assumption that the rainforest was untouched and the ignoring of these groups stems from the European invasions of early modern Europe. The diseases brought over by these new groups led to rapid loss of lives, effectively erasing the appearance of the hard work and lifestyle of these indigenous groups, as the rainforest appeared uninhabited to newcomers. With the European conquests, many indigenous people became victims in forced labour camps, eventually resulting in the tragedy of enslavement and genocides of these remarkable groups of people.
Pilot survives in jungle for 38 days. Crash landing your plane in the middle of the unforgiving Amazon rainforest with no way of communication or any hope of rescue sounds like a plot from a cheesy film. Yet, unfortunately, it is exactly what happened to Brazilian pilot Antonio Senna. The 36-year-old was hired to fly supplies to an illegal gold mining operation in the middle of the rainforest. However, he was only halfway there in his single-engine plane when the engine failed, leaving him approximately 1,000 meters to make a crash landing decision. Fortunately, he was cushioned by the canopy of the trees and was able to miraculously land unharmed. Unfortunately, he was now stranded in the inhospitable Amazon rainforest, covered in gasoline with only a backpack, 3 water bottles, 4 soft drinks, bread, rope, a lantern, and 2 lighters. Shortly after, he gathered what he could and left the plane. It exploded, leaving him totally alone and abandoned, with no shelter. Although he heard rescue planes overhead searching for him, the trees were too dense for them to spot him, and eventually even those beacons of hope disappeared. "I was devastated. I thought I would never make it out, that I was going to die," he said. With essentially no provisions, he relied heavily on survival instincts to stay alive and avoid the dangerous predators like jaguars, anacondas, and crocodiles, in addition to the infinitely more poisonous and harder to avoid threats like bullet ants and poison dart frogs. He had crashed in a location so deep in the jungle that it was totally untouched by humans, and he stayed alive by eating only fruits that he saw monkeys eating. These fruits consisted of his entire diet for the totality of his ordeal, excepting 3 bird eggs that he managed to scavenge. He walked east day after day, just trying to stay alive and hoping that he would eventually run into civilization. And finally, after 35 days of walking, covering over 28 kilometers and losing 25 kilos, he stumbled towards the welcome sounds of a chainsaw and discovered a family of Brazil nut foragers. The family immediately took him in and began nursing him back to health, after helping him contact his mother to let her know he was safe. He is very thankful that he was able to be rescued and appears to have had a change of heart after his ordeal, saying, despite the circumstances that led to that flight, being found by a family of gatherers who work in harmony with nature, who don't damage the forest, that was magical. Needless to say, he has stopped flying for illegal miners after his safe return home. The mystery soil Terra Preta. The red and yellow soils associated with the Amazon appear on the surface to keep the rainforest vibrant and flourishing. But beneath all that, the soils contain low levels of nutrients, leaving much of the land infertile and unsuitable for farming. Yet, the Amazon rainforest produces food, resources, and wonderful greenery. The fertile soil within the Amazon is known as Terra Preta, informally known as Amazonian dark earth. Terra Preta is anthropogenic, or artificially made, specifically to counter the infertile soil in the Amazon. Terra Preta is formed through the indigenous soil management technique known as slash and char. Slash and char is an innovative farming technique that produces fertile soil through the burning of wet vegetation. The ash produced is then transferred into the soil. Other control methods release harmful chemicals and emit twice as much carbon dioxide as slash and char. These involve the dry burning of grass and bush. The key characteristics of Terra Preta are the dark colour of it, hence the name translating to black soil, a high concentration of charcoal,
which, when weathered, creates the dark colour, a high concentration of pottery shards and organic matter such as animal feces, fish, and animal bones. The charcoal is the most distinctive aspect of terra preta, as it binds together the minerals and nutrients within the soil, allowing them to be retained, otherwise it would decompose with the rain. The charcoal stays in the soil for centuries, even for thousands of years, stabilizing the soil. The high nutrient levels in the soil provide the fertility that makes terra preta so valuable. Some examples of nutrients that have been found include nitrogen, phosphorus, calcium, zinc, and manganese. This stimulates higher levels of microorganic activity. There are other attributes to this miracle soil, though these vary depending upon the ecosystem they are in. The nutrient retention of this soil means that farmers are not forced to migrate due to deforestation. Deforestation leaves areas of the rainforest burned, and in these places the soil is fertile for only a short period of time. Usually, these nutrients are swept away with the rain, which is of course a common occurrence in the rainforest. The high levels of charcoal content mean terra preta is less susceptible to nutrient leaching, proving to be incredibly useful to farming communities. Analysis of the content within the soil, largely from the pottery shards, indicate that the soil dates back to between 450 BCE and 950 CE. This has been a huge revelation, as until this analysis, we were unaware of civilizations that existed 2,000 years ago who were capable of creating pottery like this, never mind utilizing it to create this rich soil. To give a contextual picture as to the size of this soil, the depth is approximately 2 meters, but the soil regenerates itself at a rate of 1 centimeter per year. Currently, the amount of soil is estimated to cover the same ground as France. Some scientists, largely geologists and archaeologists, have theorized that the soil was created through communal compost piles, where generations after generations have put their food, human and animal waste into these piles. This is evidenced by the patches reaching up to half a hectare in size. Others believe this was not used for agricultural farming, and the sheer volume of soil suggests crop use instead. Modern technology, namely low-temperature pyrolysis, has produced biological discussions at industrial scales, suggesting that the revolution could have occurred at a much earlier date. In the past, similar findings have been suggested. In 1874, Charles Hart led a biological expedition in the Amazon basin where it proposed that terra preta had been used for sugar plantations, though his findings were dismissed at the time. This miraculous soil is what gives us the Amazon rainforest we know today.
But what do you make of these recent discoveries? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us grow this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.